Hi folks, welcome to my iPad Retro Journal. Today I want to talk about whether or not an old retro computer like my QL could be a stand-in case of emergency as a backup plan in case something goes wrong with my modern computer and I need to do some work. And this actually happens to be a real scenario because today when I got home, this is a Friday evening, I realized that I left my MacBook laptop at the office. And that's usually my backup machine. I actually, on the channel, I think I've shown it once in one of the videos. And I've also shown that I had an old Dell Inspiron from 2005 that I used sort of as a hobby computer because it had a built-in parallel and serial port. Well, that's actually also at the office because I'm currently using that on a project. And my wife is actually gone this weekend visiting her family, which hasn't happened, her parents, which hasn't happened as often during the pandemic. So she took her laptop with. And so literally the only machine I have currently here, modern-wise, is my iMac running Windows 7. And it's a very nice machine. Actually, the hard disk crashed on that and I had to get a new one. It was between Thanksgiving and Christmas of last year. So it has a good hard disk and it should be fine. It's not a solid state one, but it got me to thinking, only having the iMac, if something went wrong, and I need to write a proposal this weekend for Monday, and so that's what brought this whole thing up. Is if I didn't have the iMac, how would I write my proposal? I don't have any other machine here. I suppose I could reach out to a friend, but with the pandemic, we've sort of been isolating from people, and so it would be kind of out of the blue saying, hey, can I borrow your laptop? It's not like borrowing a cup of sugar. And so I was thinking, well, I have all these hobby computers. I have ZX81. I've got a pocket computer. I also have a Spectrum, which I haven't really worked with too much. But I don't feel like any of those are really reasonable to use. But I do know the the QL, which has Quill, which is a word processor, actually is an environment and actually used to use that word processor in the 90s, and it also has a spreadsheet program. Although for this proposal, I don't need to do much spreadsheets. And I know that can convert over because you can just create comma delimited files. It doesn't bring formulas over, but you could bring data over if you wanted to and try to analyze them one or the other. And that's not what I need to do. I really just need to write. And so the question is, can I take a Word document that I have partially written and convert it into some format that Quill could read in, modify it in Quill, and then bring it back? So I'm going to give that a try. Now, I know that there's a Quill to RTF converter, so that's rich text format. I haven't found anything that will convert a Word or HTML to what Quill can read, so I think I'm going to have to. So I don't get that complete circle. I think I can save my Word document as text and then import it into the Quill edited word processor on the QL. So I can get kind of a loop going, but not fully. But since I need to write most of the proposal, I could certainly do the merging and editing on Monday if I had most of it written. So, but would I be comfortable editing a modern, using a 37-year-old computer? This came out in 1984. Would it be comfortable to actually do that kind of work on my hobby computer as a backup, since currently that's all I've got is this machine? And so that's what I want to give a try. So I think first we're going to go on to the iMac running Windows 7 to see what I've done there, and then we'll go on the QL and tinker with QL. This is a test document that I wrote, so I'm going to get to this in a second. But this is actually not this is actually not a test document. This is so we're talking about two different doc files here, and this is a doc file that's from Quill. And so I can't load this into Word because it's not a Word document. But I have this QL view program, and what this does is you can drag and drop Quill documents, and what it'll do is it'll open up. And actually notice that it also generated a Quill HTML view file for it. So it's a little confusing, but Quill, which was created in 1983, uses the DOC extension just like Word does. So anyway, can I then open this up in Word? And I can, yeah. So if I do print layout, oh, it gets a little problematic. If I do web layout, it's better. If I say print view, yeah, that's all screwed up. So can I fix that, I guess is the question. So I don't know. So let's do this first. Let's select the whole thing and let's choose Times Roman and 12 because that's usually what I use. And that, yeah, so that's actually not good. So I can certainly now under print layout do that, but it didn't wrap or anything, so that it also seems to have headers and footers that you sort of lose as they become part of the page. If I do page setup, I could go, well, the margins are already pretty good. What does this look like if I look at it in Notepad? Oh, wow. Yeah, that doesn't look good at all. If you look at this, it's basically, see, these things basically try to place a specific space in here and they're just filled with that stuff. That is going to be hard to beat in Word. So I don't think that is going to work. It certainly lets you view, I mean, it's not horrible, but you'd have to, yeah, you'd have to do some work to remove all of that. Yeah, to remove all of that to basically get, I don't even know why it's doing that. So that's kind of screwy because you think that the margins should be page setup. The margins are set. I'm not sure why it's yeah. So the format of this is completely screwed up. There's no easy way to even, I mean, if I go, this is what I expect to happen is just to go, it wraps around. But as soon as I put a space in here, it does that. So I don't know what's, oh, maybe because this is seen as a single word. Oh, because these aren't even spaces. These are, oh, wow. Yep, so this is in pretty bad shape. So no, that's not going to work. It works to view a Word, a Quill document nicely with all the boldface and underlining, but can't edit it and put it into Word. So I think that adding the underlying format is not conducive to that. All right, so that Quill view is not something. Again, this was a piece of software written by for the QL for Windows XP and Vista, but just not the right software for us. Okay, so what I want to do next is I wrote this document here, test document, and it's just an introduction. It's got some bullet items, and so what I want to do, and the way I would run this if I were to use the QL as my backup is I have a USB floppy disk drive that I can just put a floppy in. I can save this to the floppy. The way I usually save my documents, by the way, is I have a web version of Outlook, and so I usually just create a draft email that I don't send and attach a copy of my current document onto that, and that's just a nice way to where I can get to any machine I can grab that. So here I would do that, but then that wouldn't help me getting it on the QL. But what I could do is I could then save it as a text file, and if I had a disk in my QL, so I would save this as a text file, and I can save it on my desktop. That's fine. And so this is going to save a text version of that. And now this is a text version. And then I could drag and drop that onto my, I didn't actually, so I need to turn my USB drive on. And once I do, you'll see that it'll appear. And all I have to do is put a floppy disk in here and then just drag it over here and do those backups regularly. Or I could even directly save onto that in Word if I wanted to. So I could do incrementally by saying save as, pick the floppy drive and then just do a text. Right, text, and then pick the floppy and save it that way. And so that wouldn't hinder me as I'm typing here and backing up. But so let's go on the QL and see what I can do with this text file. I've got Quill already open, and it has loaded the OPD1 doc file that I was working on Windows, trying to get that to load in Word properly, and obviously that wasn't so successful. Now, just to show you that this is the full document, and it's got all the stuff in. You can see that Quill can do bold facing. It's doing so I think that's bold faced. And it can do underlining, obviously, and this is the full document. It goes all the way to the end with regard to the margins, and it just moves on. So yeah, this is this would be pretty comfortable editing this document. And it has all those features. So here we've got, so it does use tabbing. It looks like every 5 is the tab. A little bit of spacing mixed with tabbing. So yeah, and here's the end of the page. I think this also will have, if I go F3 header, I think this has a header. So no, I don't. Is it a footer then? I thought this had F3 margins, footer, space to choose position, then enter, none. No, it doesn't. Footer. Center, so we should leave it at center. But use NN for R for interchange. No. Oh, I see. This is what tells you what the footer is. So, I see. I chose none. That's why. So yeah, I don't know this as well yet. So footer, center position, yeah, and then I don't think it had it. That's why. All right. Repeats text, set number of lines between footer and text, press any number. So I'm just going to keep the default. Press repeats text, that press enter for bold and N for normal. Yeah, so I don't know how you can see the, it doesn't really have a print preview. But again, this is pretty comfortable stuff. It lets you, yeah, it lets you, I'm going to make an edit here somewhere just so. Making backup creates. All right, hold on. Let's scrolling now. Okay, so here, let's go on the top of this. But yeah, so there you go. Glorious micro drive. How's that? Glorious. So it doesn't have spell checking, but it has glorious. Oops. That's not what I wanted. Escape. Right. It. If you entered. There we go. Glorious microdrive cartridges again. So I added the word glorious. Let's see if it actually shows up. And again, so what I want to do is see if I can convert this to a, so I'm going to say F3, and we're going to save it. It might take a little bit, but let's give it a chance to save. Print it, cool. Save the current document to microdrive, first enter it for Quill's choice. Yep, sure, I'm going to overwrite it. The current type file, yep, and it's probably going to say, do you want to overwrite it? Yes, I do. So this is saving it now, and it's actually, yep, saving. Enter the, can you, I'm going to hit space to do a new document. And so this is going to clear that out. And so what I want to do is I want to try to load in. And so I know that under F3, there is a I think there is a, whoops. There is a files, and you can import. Type the file name and enter. So I can do question mark, device M3, and test.txt. There it is. So I did a little bit of copying. So I didn't actually put it on a floppy and move it over. But I have a floppy that's MS-DOS formatted, and I could have done that if need be. So this is just to be quicker. Test text. And it wants, press enter for import by line. And here it is. And so, yeah, that looks pretty good, except you can see that it's the margins are a little off. So if I go all the way over, oops, if I go all the way to the end, oh yeah, that's, wow, that's like 10, 12, 30. That's like 160, yeah. So I want to change those margins. Okay, so I can do that by F3 margins, and yeah, left, and then right margins, right? So I want to do the right margins, and so here I want to bring them all the way in so that they are, certainly you can see that the QL can handle larger margins, right? So if, let's say I had 100, I can certainly deal with that if I need to, right? Because I can go to the end, to the beginning. But I'm going to use 80. So margins, I want right again, and I'm going to move them all the way to 80. So that we get, oops, a little bit more than I want it. There we go. I can hit return. And now I have, yeah, 80 as margins. Let's see, this we can improve by, I do this sometimes in emails, and then I can indent. Oh yeah, that's kind of a long indent. So what I want to do is add tabs too. So I'm going to go all the way to the beginning of the document and do tabs. That's T, and I want to set tabs to the left here. So I think I just go very similar to how Word does it. You just use a mouse instead of, but I think this is sort of common on most word processors. So this was nicely done on Quill. Yeah, like I said, this is a pretty good word processor. So like I said, certainly I'm currently feeling very comfortable using this as a, so if I tab, yeah, tab, yeah, oops, too much here, so tab is here. Same goes for this. I would tab, oops, tab twice, tab once. All right. So the one last thing I want to change is I want to boldface that title header, right? So hit F4. I can paint, and I can choose bold, and then go, and so that'll turn this into bold. Again, I'm typing a little too fast. Yeah, and so hit enter, and that'll boldface it. Yeah. And so it's starting to look better. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a new section. Actually, so F4 typeface, I'm just going to say bold, and I'm going to say section 2, information. Oops. And then I want to go F4, undo bold. The next paragraph is new, and F4, and we're going to go high. I'm going to say H, F4 high E, F4 low L, F4 low L, F4 high O. Just to show you the different scripts that we have, F4 high, and then maybe also do something like first F4 high ST, F4 high, and then N, F4 low, NI, F4 low. All right, so let's save that. So we'll get some and well, one more, just why not, right? So F4 U underline F4 U. All right, so that'll give us some typefaces. Now let's save it one more time. I find that this quill editor is very, very comfortable, and I don't feel myself like being hampered creatively. I feel like enter to leave quill. I feel like I can do this pretty comfortably and not worry so much about yeah. So what I actually need to do next is so the program that I need to run is actually on MDV3. We have to run the boot program first. Lrun MDV3 boot. So that loads the Turbo Toolkit, which the conversion program needs. And then it's going to appear on the bottom of the screen here in a second. Here it is. And then we're going to load in exec MDV3 doc to RTF exe. So this is it's actually originally a basic program that was compiled by the Turbo compiler, and then that's why it needs a toolkit, and then this will convert doc files into RTF files. So I'm going to choose MDV3 OPD1 doc. I actually have a blank MDV and MDV4. Sometimes it's better not to read and write from the same micro drive, and so I'm going to save it into that one. It might go faster, so let's see. And I'll probably fast forward that because I think it's going to be pretty slow. So it finished the first one, and now let's do the second one. It took a little bit of time to do the first one. It's a slow computer, and the micro drives aren't always the best. But so MDV3 test doc, and then MDV3 4 again. Test RTF. This is a shorter document, so we'll see if how much faster this runs. Here we go. All right, so this one finished rather quickly. All right, so I got them both done now, and I should have in my MDV4 directory, I should have 2 files. Yep, OPD. Okay, so now let's go on to my Windows machine again and try both of these out, see how they work. I'm going to plug in my SD card from the QL into my Windows machine, and that's going to pop up right here. So what I didn't show you before is how I actually got this test.txt file onto my V drive. As I said, this weekend what I'm going to do is constantly save it to a floppy, because if this machine goes down, I'm not going to have access to an SD card reader. but I can get a text file on a floppy onto my QL. But for this video, I did it the quick way, which is just use V drive. So the way I actually do that is I use the QL emulator. QLA2, and I have a directory of MDVs, and so the MDV, this is my SD card, and the MDV here, this is the configuration file. This tells me which bank I'm using, so I have bank 2, 3, 4. I can name these whatever I want. I have temp bank and V drive bank. So this is using this last bank, and each one of these are images that associate with MDV 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Doesn't matter. This is called MDV 1. These are just names. So MDV 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so MDV 3 was Word and MDV 4 was RTF. This is the one I want, MISC RTF. So if I go to MISC and grab RTF, I'm going to drag it in here. I can close this now. So now I'll go back to the emulator and open this up, and I'm going to temporarily set sub A, which is a directory I created specifically temporarily for dealing with this this particular journal entry. And then RTF, I'm going to use MDV2 for that RTF. And okay, so I'm going to all right, so I'll boot it up. And you'll see that in RTF, MDV2, I have my two RTF files. So I can just use wcopy, MDV2, everything to win1, everything. And this just says A, and it'll copy both of them. And that's all I have to do. So dir win1 now contains my two RTF files, including all the other stuff. I can quit the emulator. I can go into sub A, which is right here. And here are my two RTF files. So I can just copy them onto my desktop. And again, these using underbars, which is what the QL uses. And then if I change into, oops, I copied the wrong thing. I meant to copy bin emulators sub A. I copied these last two. I should have copied this and this. Copy, paste, and when I change that to a period, yep, there we go. So now this is RTF, and these are associated with Windows. If I double click on this, yep, look at that. I got it to load. It's in Courier, but let's see, like when I use the QL viewer, but let's see if I can change it. Let's first go and see if Glorious is in here. And there it is, Glorious Microdrive. So that's my change. But yeah, so let's see if we can change it. Let's take a look first at the page setup. So as you're looking at this, it does seem to be using headers and footers, so that's kind of cool. They are very high. So let's take a look at the setup for this, because it's kind of odd looking. All right. So page setup. You have, okay, well, that's kind of odd. Let me put this at 1 and 1. And let's put this at 1 1/4 and 1 1/4. So that's normal. Let's look at the paper. Should be 8.5 by 11. Layout, header and footer. Oh wow, they have an 1.5 inch in, so they really should be maybe 4 and 4 or 5 and 5. I don't know. We could do 5 and 5. So let's see how this looks. Okay. That's, oh, well, the margins are fixed, page setup, but it has this weird, so I really want to, so let me do that. Let me select the whole, so I want to move, get rid of that. I want to move, oh, this, oops, no. move this whole thing over. Here we go. And I want to move this whole thing over. Yeah. Okay, so how does... So that looks better. Oh, so it's definitely now doing the... Okay, and so now the other thing I want to do is I really want to get rid of all these. I want to have 5. First of all, can I clear all of my tabs? Clear all, yes. Clear all, okay. So I want to set tabs every 5. Set them every 5. See if that cleans things up. All right, so let's see what this looks like. It looks a little messy, but so the other thing I want to do is, so this is a monospaced font, but everything else, so I think this is as well. So I should be able to change everything from here on to Times New Roman 12. See what this looks like. Oh, that looks pretty good. Make changes back. So yeah, destination options. So these were in here already. So if I change, if I redo, I have, okay, well, I have Times fonts. I've got, so this isn't so bad. This is a little off. This is a little off. Oops. Yeah, so this is a little off. Anyway, it requires a little bit of, and this seems to be way off. It's actually not too bad. Oops. Yeah. That's not too bad. Okay, so that's pretty good. And I think this is slightly off as this is supposed to be an E. This is supposed to be an E. There we go, user guide. Yeah, so this is not too bad. Definitely readable, and you do have the headers and footers, which is kind of cool. I think there was actually a page break in here. Because this was on a page by itself. Yeah. This is kind of cleaning up a little bit. This isn't so bad. There's tabs missing here for that. I think here you're missing tabs because I reset them, but other than that, that seems to be lining up. Probably an extra line. So anyway, I have a Word document now from a pretty complex QL document. So let's take a look at the other one. So I'm going to save this as a doc file. Save. Oh, I don't want to replace existing one. Maybe I'll do xdoc. Save as xdoc. I do have that in here somewhere, don't I? Yeah, there it is. So save it as an xdoc so that, yeah, I'm fine with that. All right, so so then the other one that I have is test. So this is the one that I created. Again, the margins are a little better. Page setup still has that weird, yeah. So again, 1.25, 1.25, 0.5. Paper is going to be 8.5 by 11. Okay, that looks better already. And then I want to just change that to times 12. Yeah, here we go. Kind of got my document back. So these are obviously not proper, but you can see that first and end underline. So all this stuff works. So I think this is very doable. This I started with my original test document looked like that, and my one that's been edited and transformed on the QL looks like that. The QL. I'm not sure what's going on here. Oh, it lost its apostrophe. So some substitutions here. Word processor. Oh, that was what I wrote. Okay. But yeah, I can definitely write this. So this is your, it definitely worked. So I will say that, yes, I could use the QL as a backup machine to, it didn't take me much at all to change the, so it looks like the tabs are set every 5, but they're just kind of offset a little bit. So that's not so bad. So it did keep my tabbing as well. You can see up here, they seem to be evenly spaced. They're just not aligned with the inch mark. But other than that, this looks pretty good. So yeah, I think I'm going to conclude that I can use the QL as a backup machine if I need to. So I'll be interested to see what machines you have that are old enough to do that. Certainly a Mac should be easily able to do it. An Atari ST, I think, should be able to do it. Definitely an Amiga. But what about Commodore 64s or Texas Instruments TI 99s or that kind of lot? Can they do that? I know some of the Commodore 64s actually came with a business pack. Certainly on the QL, it was pretty easy to do that. So I'll end here. There is a slight difference in margins, I guess. Yeah, you can see that this 1984, this is a little, so I guess I could just shrink the margins a bit. Don't know. But yeah, so I think this is a win in terms of being able to use that as an emergency computer, and I'll rest easy this weekend as I write my proposal. So I'm going to end here. Thanks for joining me today, and continue to stay safe.